Welcome to the Android Police. I'm David Ruddick.
I'm Ryan Whitwam.
I'm Cody Toombs.
And I'm Corbin Davenport.
And I guess this is the moment we have chosen to start the show. Have we done the socials for the show?
Nope, I'm going to do that right now.
Okay.
That used to be automatic, but now it's a thing you have to do manually.
I believe it's Manuel is the pronunciation. That's a car joke. It's not a good one. I don't want to explain the joke. I should probably, because it actually could be seen as slightly racist. So people misspell manual transmission on Craigslist all the time as Manuel transmission. And so there's an entire subreddit called our Manuel transmission or something like that. And it's just all cars with misspelled manual transmission. It's quite funny. Anyway, this week, start out with some Pixel news. And I think it's I won't lie. These are the scrappiest of scraps, but they're nonetheless, I would say, definitive in terms of the names and the existence, and also somewhat the launch time frame and the fact that they're going to be on Verizon. So it's not necessarily scrappy. They're scraps. They're definitely scraps, confirming things we already know.
Yeah. So the first thing was that earlier this week, 2 code names appeared in the Google Play Developer Console. So if you're a Google Play developer, there's a little interactive list with every single verified Android phone and some specifications, and you can choose like if you want to target your app to that or not or whatever. But the code names match up with what we think the code names are for the upcoming budget Pixel phones, which are Sargo and Bonito. And doesn't really confirm a lot more. It doesn't even really say what it doesn't say what processor they're using, which is sort of still up for contention. It does point to a resolution. So Sargo, which it appears to be the small one, has a 1080 by 2220 display, and it has Android 9 Pie, obviously, with 4 gigs of RAM. So there were some rumors that these would have 6 gigs of RAM. I don't know who believed that, because I don't think Google would make a budget phone with more RAM than its flagships, but that made the rounds.
Well, it is Google.
I don't know. Google doesn't dunk on itself that often that way. I think that would be seriously.
Unless, except for when they released the Pixel Buds.
Yeah, they did do.
I'm sorry. And then there's also Bonito, which is probably the larger one. It has a resolution of 1080 by 2160 with, again, 4 gigs of RAM, Android 9 Pie. We don't know what processor. So really the only interesting bits came from the list of device features at the very end of the listing. So there are a couple Verizon features, which would seem to, again, we already kind of knew this was coming to Verizon, but there's more proof. There's also NFC on there, which was probably also a given, but also a lot of budget phones here don't have NFC for whatever reason. Also, there's one feature called android.apps.photos.pixel 2019 mid-year preload, which seems to point to a mid-2019 for these phones. And yeah, that's pretty much all that came out of the console. And thank you, Totally Geeky, for subscribing on Twitch. You're very awesome.
Yes.
And the other minor bit of detail about the Pixel 3 is that it briefly appeared on the Google Store. So
I mean, not the phone itself, but like
yeah, there was a link to the Pixel 3a on the phone section of the Google Play Store. There weren't any images or anything like that, just the link. And there was also a link to accessories for the phone. Again, we couldn't really tell anything from these except that the link to the case for this phone was labeled Pixel 3a case fabric. So you'll get to have with your Pixel 3a whenever it comes out.
Yeah, which are awesome. Fabric cases are the best.
And Sean said, so these won't come to Fi. They'll probably come to Fi.
I would be very surprised. Yeah, if they did not. That'd be weird.
Yeah, I feel like these are going to be Verizon phones in the same way that the Pixels we have.
Yeah, I would bet it's going to be the exact same thing. You can buy it on the Google Store, you can buy it on Project Fi, you can buy it at Verizon, and eventually you might be able to buy it at Best Buy too, but they'll be the Verizon versions. So hopefully Verizon won't be instituting their super BSy carrier locking on these phones, which they've been trying to pull more recently because of, quote, devices being stolen and resold on the black market.
Yeah, that's super suspicious.
Yeah, that's a major BS. But everything we've pointed out so far is in line with what we've reported. A spring release date. I do think strongly that these will be released before spring is over. So I still have every reason to think that. And yeah, mid-year. That's that's probably May or June. Based on what we understand.
So should I hold out hope that I'll get this as a Google I/O gift?
Absolutely not. They might give you like $100 discount on one. I wouldn't be surprised at that. I bet that's what it'll be. Every
give me
the show gets a Pixel 3a for $200 off.
Yeah,
that'll be the first.
Google is not
they'll
giving out expensive hardware anymore because it just encourages people to buy tickets just to get free stuff.
Yeah,
they'll give out the fabric case for the phone, and that's it.
Yeah, I Google has definitely gotten away from the major freebie thing. I think the only thing that recently was that crazy Pixelbook discount last year. If you went to the Chrome apps on Android session, we got like $500 off a Pixelbook or something ridiculous. But it was a limited number of codes. So,
well, the issue also really hasn't been about the value of the items. It's more that they're trying to curtail people coming in just to get stuff before everyone else can get it.
Yeah, I mean, it got ridiculous. I think peak Google crazy was when you got a Pixelbook, a Chromebook Pixel, a Nexus phone, and then like there was something else you got that year. I think you got. Did you get a tablet too that year? Was that the
Pixel? It was all of the Nexus devices that they had out though.
There was a Chromebook Pixel year. There definitely was.
Yeah. I was there without anything else that year.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. No, I have the laptop sitting in its box right next to me.
Interessante. Okay. Okay. Well, I don't think like I said, I don't think they're gonna give out anything that cool this year. I just don't think it's gonna happen. But we'll see. It's very possible that the Pixel 3a could make an appearance at IS. We don't know at this point. But we will see. Appearance.
Thank you to Darkfire963 for subscribing on Twitch. You're very nice.
Thank you very much. And speaking of subscribing on Twitch, you should do that. So Android Police, the podcast, is live on Twitch every Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And if you're an Amazon Prime member, you can subscribe to the channel for free. As an Amazon Prime member, you get one free Twitch subscription per month. And if you subscribe to the Android Police podcast, you will help support the show monetarily. You don't pay anything, but we actually do get money, which helps support the podcast. So that really does help us out if you do subscribe. Also, if you subscribe during the live show, a big Pixel 3XL notch will come down on the live stream, which is real fun. And we'll also give you a shout out for subscribing because we really do appreciate it very much. Once again, that's twitch.tv/Android Police. Hey, thanks to the H Zone who just subscribed, who has subscribed for 5 months now, which good job, man.
You guys are on a roll today.
Yeah, we love the multi-month subscribers. Re-upping is really important for us to be supported. And Mongoose.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
We've had 4 subscriptions this show already.
Are we like way more persuasive than usual this week?
We can just end
the podcast here. Yeah. We're good.
All right, we're stopping unless everybody subscribes immediately.
No more podcasts until we get at least one more subscription. No more.
Darkfire says he only did it for the notch, and that's all we want. That's plenty of motivation as far as we're concerned. If not, that's just fine. So twitch.tv/Android Police. If you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, just link your Twitch and Amazon accounts. It's not hard, I promise. It's just a few clicks. And then you subscribe to the channel, and it does not cost you a thing. Thank you for listening. Back to the show.
Corbin. I'm sorry. I was tweeting people to watch the show.
Oh, that's good though.
Yeah, I got a shield for us. So another that happened is Google's now testing you're able to use your Android phone as a 2-step verification key. So if you don't want to spend the $30 or $40 it is on a YubiKey or you didn't buy that kind of dumb Google security kit that they came out with a while ago that Ryan reviewed and he had a lot of issues with, this is a little bit better than that. So I believe how this works is that once you set it up, when you log into your Google account and ask you for two-factor authentication, I believe you just press the volume key on your phone.
Well, that's for the Pixel 3, because it has the Titan M chip. You have to actually engage it by pressing the volume toggle. Other phones will have a button on the screen.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that'd make more sense. But yeah, so this is supposed to be a little bit more secure, or not more secure, but a little bit easier than something like Google Authenticator, or of course, Google already had that option where you could send a push notification to a certain device to act as a two-factor authenticator.
Yeah, this is different. This is Bluetooth, right?
Yeah, this is hardware-based.
Yeah.
I don't know if this works with any site that supports this kind of authentication, or if it's just Google for now. It'd be really.
I think it's just Google
for
now.
It'd be really nice if it was for anything and the integration was built into Chrome or something like that. But either way, it's good, because the more people that use two-factor authentication, the better. And it's nice that Google's pushing this. I don't really have anything else to say, but this is neat. I like it.
Yeah. Well, so it's on every phone running Nougat or higher, right, through Play services.
Yes.
So the phone you have probably already does this.
Yeah, that's most people. We don't know exactly how many people, though, because Google hasn't released those distribution numbers in like a year.
It's been a long time.
They're still working on it, guys. I promise. It just takes a really long time.
Definitely not because of bad PR about the distro numbers. It's 100% a very serious, very hard to track down bug.
Yeah. Google got a little bit too to them every WWDC.
They really did, though. They've made a thing of it at this point, and it is kind of embarrassing. I wonder if the thing this year will be like Android can't even bother to update its platform statistics because they don't care. They probably would do that, actually. Speaking of things that are offensive, I guess, T-Mobile launched a cord cutter service, and its pricing is
it is super dumb. You know, we heard before that they were going to launch it last year, but they had to delay it because it wasn't disruptive enough. If this is more disruptive than what they had before, I mean, were they just like rebroadcasting Comcast before? Was that like the plan? Because man, this is just like Comcast. Like, you're just paying T-Mobile $100 a month for a cable box and like a bundle of a whole bunch of channels you're probably not going to watch. And it's very silly. It's also IPTV, so it's streaming over your home internet connection. So if you have a capped monthly bandwidth limit, you're probably going to hit that.
Yeah, I don't really see the appeal here. Even YouTube TV just jacked up to $50 a month, but this is still way more expensive than that.
I mean, it's a lot of channels, but like, man, I feel like the days of impressing people with how many channels is over, because I mean, nobody wants that many channels. I mean, I'm sure that almost all of the 150 channels they offer, I do not care about in any way.
Yeah, well, this is only for probably when T-Mobile starts getting their internet, their home internet 5G infrastructure up and running. This will be the internet TV bundle.
They did take the opportunity to mention their 5G stuff several times and how much they would really like to buy Sprint so that they could make 5G better. Hint, hint.
Yeah, and I think so. I saw Sasha Segan's take on this on Twitter, which was that they made this uncompetitive intentional, because they want to be able to say, look, we can't be disruptive in the TV space unless we have Sprint. Without Sprint, we can't make this a compelling package. Right now, we're hampered by the fact that we can't compete with AT&T and Verizon's cable packages because they have everything. They already have all the infrastructure. With Sprint, lower the prices, we can bring it down, and we can make this a real competitive market. And I think that's true. T-Mobile is usually pretty good about how they price things, honestly. So tone deaf as to be ridiculous. Like, it's just, they know that nobody wants this.
Yeah, it's I don't know, it's only for 5 markets, I think, at first. So probably 8 markets. 8 markets. Probably not someplace where most people live. But yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't roll it out to basically anybody else until they have like their 5G network live.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I really do think this is a play for them to be like, oh, we tried. Look, FCC, we tried so hard. We tried so hard to do cable, and we just Sprint. It's impossible. I especially when they threw in that 5G thing in there into the press release, and then how, our 5G network with Sprint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, will make a very competitive offering here. And honestly, they sent our press release today about like that stupid like vertical coverage map, or like, oh, T-Mobile in 2024, 5G in 2024, and Sprint's math looks pathetic. But then they're like the combined networks in 2020, the graphs are much higher, which obviously means there's more 5G, and more 5G is better. So
T-Mobile just really, really wants to get its hands on all of Sprint's 2.5 gigahertz stuff for 5G. Like, I feel like that's the sweet spot for 5G. Like, you can get a lot of data in that, but it's way lower frequency than millimeter wave. It'll actually go through a wall.
Yeah. So Sean says, I thought T-Mobile's acquisition was done as far as Sprint was concerned already. No. So it hasn't gotten regulatory approval. They're very much still in limbo. I think the momentum is definitely seems to be in their direction for it, but I also politics on this could become very, very feisty. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's I think it's pretty likely that it's going to get approved at the end of the day.
Too. At this point, it seems I would say 75-25 for on them.
Yeah, the odds are really going to come down to less to whether or not it should happen, and more how much they're willing to do to make it happen.
Yeah, how many hotel rooms will T-Mobile rent?
Right.
Yeah, which definitely has nothing to do with it whatsoever.
No. He just really likes that hotel. Can't get off his back.
It's such a great hotel.
Yeah, we're not implying anything untoward is happening. I mean, just please don't.
No.
John Ledger's just ordering like $800 of room service a night, and not even eating it, and just piling up by the door.
He just has like a pile of old food in the corner. He just is living in this hotel room until he gets the merger approved.
In fact, it's just like 80 Big Mac, which are a specialty at that hotel. Speaking of things that are kind of untasteful, I think the Galaxy A80 is kind of untasteful. That is a very weird, impractical phone. I don't like that.
Here's the thing. I like that this phone exists because it's ridiculous, and I like that phones can be ridiculous again. I think it's fun. I'm not going to buy it. I don't think I would recommend that people buy it, but it's it's fun. It's a thing.
I like how Samsung was like, what's better than one moving part in a smartphone? 2 moving parts.
This looks like something that'll definitely break.
I'm just watching the video, and I just want to.
I know.
Yeah, if it doesn't make like an electronic sound like from the speaker when you do it, then
it makes transformer noises.
My God.
System armed.
I would actually consider buying the phone if it did things like that.
No, it does the Samsung notification noise every time.
Oh God, it's the bubble popping.
Yeah. Water drop sound every time you open it.
Oh, that'd be so great.
It can't be real. Oh no, it is so real. So Samsung,
it's very real.
The A80 will probably almost certainly not come to America. There's just no market for this cut. In Asia, they're taking on the likes of Oppo, Vivo, and Xiaomi, all of whom are starting to market these fairly ridiculous slider and flip phones. They're very much a hot trend in Asia right now, and the A series has definitely pivoted there. So the A series is definitely the hot trends in Asia line of phones. So it makes sense.
It looks nice. So, generally when it's not doing transformer stuff, like the bezels on the phone appear to be very small, smaller than the Galaxy S10.
They do.
It's an OLED, I think, right? It's an OLED screen. It's full HD. It's got 8 gigs of RAM. pretty big battery, 25-watt fast charging. Seems like a pretty nice phone.
25 watts. Okay, so that's better than the S10.
Yeah, apparently.
Okay, so this is an interesting conversation. I feel like Samsung may start stepping on it with these Asia market phones, where it's trying to stay competitive in Asia, which is very much a spec-driven market, whereas the US is not so much. And people looking at the S10 might be like, "Hey, am I not getting these things over here?" And the 25-watt fast charging to me is like case in point. I want Samsung phones to charge faster.
For real, like they're still 15 watts, right? While you're charging.
Still, like it's like 14.7 or something. Like it's not even as fast as Pixel. And I think Google's known for being really, big on the bandwagon for the hot new tech.
So do we know what countries these are coming to, or just like South Korea?
I would bet Southeast Asia, Europe too, because Samsung does a lot of open channel sales there. But it'll be like Asia, Middle East, Europe, and that'll probably be it. And I bet it won't come to America.
I do know Samsung has been like pretty terrible in India as of late. Like they just kind of re-release the same shell over and over again with slightly different specs and call it a day.
OnePlus is kicking their ass in India. Like it's not even
everyone's kicking their ass. Yeah.
OnePlus.
It's like OnePlus and Xiaomi in India now.
It's the number one high-end phone maker in India now. Bigger than Apple, bigger than Samsung, bigger than Xiaomi. Like they are, for anything like over $500, OnePlus owns the market in India, which is crazy. So I think this is definitely a phone that's probably trying to undercut OnePlus a bit, because OnePlus has gotten pretty expensive. So I bet this will try to come in under OnePlus pricing, promising better camera performance. And that's like the fast charging. It's an obvious pull because they're clearly being pulled in that direction by the Chinese manufacturers, like to offer these kinds of
features. Did they say what SoC this phone has?
It says unnamed processor. So I don't know. Maybe this will have an Exynos.
I mean, the Asian market also does really care about the processor.
I bet it'll be a Snapdragon 675 or like a 710 or something.
Will it be the gaming processor?
The 730G, which will
so is this going to have an in-screen fingerprint reader? Because it very obviously sort of Face ID thing.
Does it have a power button one?
I think that was in the video. The in-screen was it?
Okay, no, that makes sense too, because that also
the video is just people dancing. That doesn't help me.
Watching this animation is just driving me crazy because watching as the camera flips around and then stops for a moment before finishing its movement, like that lack of a smooth movement is just so off-putting.
Yeah, no, it's not my favorite GIF ever, but I still think it illustrates kind of the thing. So if it has a side fingerprint scanner, that's pretty awesome. But I would actually lean toward in-screen because that is very hot right now in Asia.
Even though it shouldn't be.
I really shouldn't. My S10 Plus's fingerprint scanner is hot garbage. So we were talking about the Snapdragon 730G for a moment there and making fun of it, which I do think it deserves to be made fun of. As much as I can say Qualcomm is a very serious engineering company, the 730G is their newest announced chipset, and it's kind of ridiculous. So they announced 3 new chipsets earlier this week, and it's actually pretty boring. Chipset stories do go. But basically they announced a bunch of upper mid-tier chips. The 700 series are like supposed to be like your cut rate 800 series chips, and the new 665 is like, I don't know, a high-end 6 series chip. I don't know how to even describe it. Qualcomm has so many part numbers now. It's like you just get lost in a sea of them. But the 730 and the 730G,
they're like Motorola. So for every $20 price difference.
They really do, and they know because the companies in Asia want them. But so they announced the 730 and 730G, and the way to think of these phones is the 730 and 730G get half the high power cores as a Qualcomm 855, so they get 2 high power cores and 6 low power cores. Little arrangement, and the high power cores are basically like the small high power cores in the 855 because the 855 has 1 super big core and 3 big cores. So this gets very confusing very fast. It supports up to 8 gigs of RAM. It's got a upper mid-tier GPU it still has less than half the number of ALUs that an 855's GPU does. Like Qualcomm really heavily like gives the 8 series GPUs a big advantage. But they call this G version the gaming variant, and it's exactly like the regular 730, except that the GPU is overclocked like 15%. And that appears to be the major difference. Really stupid gaming features that it has, none of which are at all hardware restricted. None of them.
That's going to make
There's no
your
hardware
Fortnite so much better. That extra 15%.
Yep. Well, and so that, I guess that is the thing here. So apparently, I was reading earlier today, I was reading about an upcoming phone from Realme, and right now, apparently, a lot of these 600 series phones in Asia, they ignite in a way that's like playable. It's not good enough, and so I think Qualcomm's whole goal with this phone, with this chipset, is to charge extra money for the guarantee that Fortnite will run livable frame rates. I think that is actually what this is about.
Wait, you said Asian markets?
Yep.
I think they're more into PUBG over
yeah, they're PUBG.
Okay.
Fortnite is not big over there.
Okay, so PUBG, either way. But I think both of these games just don't run well on the 600 series chipsets Qualcomm has out now. And so they said they're going to have performance profiles built into the 730G to ensure that the games run right, which to me is honestly like major bullshit. Because if you're going to say that the 730G can have the profiles, goddamn, every phone can have the profiles. Like, it's just capped by what, the GPU's like number of ALUs are. It's not like they're supporting different APIs or something, the same basic technologies. So I think this is a cash grab. And also I think that OEMs in China and India are like, we want to be able to advertise that our phone has a gaming. And so Qualcomm's like, okay, all right, it's got a G on it. That's for games.
I feel like Qualcomm kind of just advertises all their processors as gaming. Like even when I was like doing research a while ago on like the Snapdragon 400, it's still like incredible performance. Like, I don't think so.
Yeah,
pretty sure that's not good.
They overstate everything. It's like motherboard boxes and websites. If you ever like shop for a motherboard, like everything about a motherboard, they have some fancy name for every single feature.
Brian, I believe what you're going to find is the one with the most shiny red parts is the best. And it's generally true of motherboards. I'll also take blue in a pinch, but red is the gamer's color.
So red has to have a on everything.
It does. Heat shields everywhere.
The whole
it's actually
motherboard has
one
been covered.
giant heat shield.
Yeah. Optimized for gaming.
Optimized for gaming and also cooking eggs.
Can I get a Fortnite motherboard?
If that doesn't exist, I feel like it
licensing opportunities. Soon. Like I feel like all those Asus and Ace are like salivating. Yes, be purple. We'll do the purple motherboard.
Oh my god, that's so terrible. When you turn your computer on, it's the Fortnite theme music.
Oh god, it comes with V-Bucks.
I think an Acer executive is like having a crisis right now as you explain, all the cross-marketing possibilities. And speaking of cross-marketing and the color purple, you should subscribe to us on Twitch if you don't. We already talked about this earlier, but it's twitch.tv/AndroidPolice. And if you're an Amazon Prime member, you can subscribe to the podcast for free. You get one free Twitch subscription a month as part of your Amazon Prime membership. And if you subscribe, you help support the show. Like, actually, it gives us money, like as if you were like seeing ads, but you're not seeing ads. And so that really helps us out and keeps the show going. And like I said, it is completely free to you as an Amazon Prime. We would appreciate if you would resubscribe every month, because the year subscription does expire after 1 month. And if you re-up, again, it's free every time. And we really do appreciate it. And if you're on the live show with us, a big Pixel 3 XL notch comes on down the screen. And if you're not watching the live show Thursday at 5:30 p.m. PST, we do also have the Q&A show, the time for which I don't remember, and somebody should take over from here.
It is 7:30 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays. I think that's 4:30 p.m. Pacific.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So check out the Q&A show.
I can do subtraction. Oh boy. Okay.
And now
Okay.
Verizon 5G, I guess. I don't have a good segue for this.
No.
Yep. So I've experienced Verizon 5G. It is a thing. I can confirm that it exists. And it is fast-ish, fast in certain circumstances, I guess. I don't think anybody should even consider purchasing any 5G things right now. So I tried the service in Minneapolis, up here near where I live. Apparently, according to the Verizon rep I talked to, they're happier with the state of this network at launch than the Chicago one. And they chose those two cities because the local governments have made it easier to install small cell radios sort of at street level, like on light poles and stuff. So I have a picture of one of their 5G antenna doodads in the post. If anybody's curious what they look like. But so the gist is that this is millimeter wave 5G, so the range is not good. Although if you are close to the tower, I found that it actually seems to be better about avoiding interference from your hand than I was expecting. Even so, I used the MotoMod 5G thing. Even like physically covering all four of the antennas on that phone, as long as I was in a good 5G service area, it still worked. Which, I thought was pretty impressive. But then, like, here's the thing. They sent me GPS coordinates to meet for the demo so that I could, like, get the phone and walk around with it. And I thought that was kind of weird, but then I realized that they sent me were the exact location of a 5G small cell radio. So, like, when I started doing the test, I was literally, like, 15 feet away from the 5G antenna. As I started to walk around the city, that things got not so good pretty quickly. I mean, as soon as you turn a corner, you basically signal unless the cross street also has a 5G cell site on it, and most of them don't right now. So yeah, I mean, it's not going to pass through walls, and as soon as you get, I would say, 1,000 feet away from one of these radios, you're basically going to be on LTE more than you're on 5G.
Yeah, and so range of it. So I think that there was some good stuff on. It's called Light Reading, and it's about spectrum. Like, it's the website's name's obnoxious. And 5G articles by some very smart people, and so they've talked about like the drop-off rate of 5G millimeter wave in Sacramento, which is Verizon's biggest test market for their 5G home broadband service. And it sounds like they promised like 1,000 feet. 1,000 feet's a number that they throw around. After about 400 feet, it seems like you're very likely to encounter an obstacle.
Yeah. So Verizon told me that the mobile 5G that they're rolling out now, they have 1,500 feet of range. That's what they're saying now. But like I said, I mean, before you get anywhere close to that, it's not going to be fully functional. When you have a good signal, I mean, it's fast. It's like 700 megabits down, although their upload is to LTE right now because of some regulatory thing. So they haven't turned that on yet.
So did a Verizon person like slowly follow you around the block while you tested
they
this?
did. So the Verizon guy met, like, he had a phone too, and like we were just like walking around, like, testing the network. And I know he was probably there to like snatch the phone away in case something really unacceptable happened. But
in case you try to take off.
I mean, he seemed pretty, like, he wasn't shocked by anything I saw. He was not expecting it to be, a magical, perfect signal everywhere or anything. I mean, it was, I tested around the US Bank Stadium, which apparently they like decided to rig up specifically because of the Final Four happening there. And there's like an indoor 5G network in that building. But that's like one of their best coverage areas, I guess, because, they wanted to show it off for the basketball thing or whatever. But, even there, it was not super encouraging. Just, you're not going to ever be in a place where you have a good 5G signal at this phase. I mean, it's going to take, a lot more millimeter wave sites and probably sub-6 5G before you're going to feel, confident that you'll be able to get 5G signal anyplace.
Yeah.
And that is a chunk mod you have on the picture where you're looking at the side of it.
Yeah, that is the 5G mod. That's the final version. I guess the guy said he Verizon store and picked it up right before we met, so that's what they're selling to people.
Wow.
It's pretty identical to the mock-up that I saw last year when they announced the 5G mod. It is, it's a big thing. I will say though, like it worked well. It did what it was supposed to do. Like you pull it off of the phone and the phone just goes back to 4G. You connect it and it'll connect to 5G in a couple of seconds if there's a signal.
It's because the mod is basically a phone.
Yeah. It's a phone without a screen. It's got a Snapdragon 855 in it and a battery. And it's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they're almost certainly selling them at a loss. A screen's a very expensive part of a smartphone, but the chipset.
I mean, they were selling it for $50 when they first announced pre-orders, and now I think it's $200.
That's still, I think, got to be a loss.
Yeah.
There's no way. Yeah, especially with the Moto Mod connector. It's basically a 5G hotspot. It is just a 5G hotspot, and you slap it on the back of the phone.
Yeah.
The fact
you can plug it into a computer and use it just as a modem.
Yeah. So the fact that they've basically, created the kind of dynamic switching capability on the phone with the data is pretty cool, because I don't think any hotspot actually works like that, which is kind of nifty. I mean, I'm sure there's some layer that's kind of like hidden by the fact it just happens in the UI. Like I wonder if it's using like the tethering, USB tethering like layer in Android or something to do that, or like the Ethernet layer.
Yeah.
Or...
So the way Verizon's 5G network operates right now, the backbone is still LTE. The phone, like the 5G stuff, is registering itself like with the LTE backbone. The phone doesn't understand that it's on 5G. Like if you go into the system settings, it is reporting its LTE signal, and LTE is the connection type. But then they're just sort of like slapping the gigantic 5G ultra wideband icon at the top when it actually connects to 5G, like just based on what the mod sees.
Yeah, that's interesting. And so I think I'm going to actually switch around the next two stories, because it segues better into the other story we have, which is about Verizon's next 5G device. And Verizon will be the first real 5G carrier in the US, from what I can tell. All the other carriers will fight about that, but Verizon's going to be the first to sell the Galaxy S10 5G. And sales start on May 16th. It looks like in pre-orders, or reservations for pre-orders, will begin tomorrow. And that will be the first fully integrated 5G phone that goes on sale in the world, like in any realistic. So it's already gone on sale in Korea, but that is the Exynos version, which uses Samsung's in-house modem and does not support millimeter wave.
And people were having a lot of issues with that.
Yeah, they sure were. So I'll just talk about it real quick, but in Korea, apparently, a problem that was definitely a problem when it was first rolled out. When the phone stops getting 5G signal, apparently you just can't get it back, and you have to reboot. And so welcome back to the Thunderbolt, ladies and gentlemen. But granted, that is the Exynos version with the Shannon modem, not working on millimeter wave, not Verizon. So apples to oranges in a sense. But Verizon will sell the Qualcomm version of that phone in May, and it's going to be real expensive, but they haven't said how much yet, have they?
Yeah, that's suspicious. But the Korean version translates to like almost $1,300 starting in US money, I think.
Oof.
It's a premium over like the S10 Plus, which is the closest analog to this.
And also, Verizon version will be more expensive to produce, almost certainly, because it's going to have those millimeter wave antenna modules in there that the S10 5G in Korea does not.
Yeah, that's why the mod has 4 antennas, because like you need to have like a 5G antenna every place that you possibly can, because it's not good for the signal when you're like holding the phone like you tend to do with phones.
Yeah. And I've talking to Qualcomm about like the X50 and X55. Like, we have OEMs who want to talk about like 6 antennas, 8 antennas.
Just make the whole phone out of antennas.
The whole phone is literally an antenna. So I'll be curious to see how this phone will do and how they're going to sell it, because on the one hand, the S10 5G is just this huge honking phone. Like, it's bigger than the regular S10 Plus. It is.
Yeah, it's a 6.7-inch screen. It's crazy.
It's the same size as it's a little bit bigger than a Galaxy Note 9, just a hair. Actually, it's actually a little bit thinner and I think just a little bit lighter, but it's
I mean,
wider.
it fits more screen into the, into
Yeah,
the
it does.
footprint.
So it's basically a Galaxy Note 9 footprint with a bigger battery. And so it's desirable from that standpoint, right? So just from being like a big chunkin' phone that, is very powerful and very big. But you also have the 5G aspect, which is going to be just, they're going to be 2 markets. There'll probably be maybe 5 or 6 markets by the time this phone goes on sale. Just won't be many. So I wonder how they're going to do that.
Yeah, I know when LTE was rolling out, it was pretty common practice for carriers to only sell you an LTE phone if you lived in an LTE market. I feel like, I don't know, I feel like Verizon probably is going to go the same way with this.
I do wonder.
This thing exists solely to show off their 5G network.
It does. And because we know, so that leads us to our next story, which we continue talking about both, of course. But there's a report that Samsung is going to release 4 versions of the Galaxy Note 10. Unclear which versions come to America and on which carriers and how the availability is going to look. But we can probably very safely assume that at that point, AT&T and Verizon will be in full blast 5G mode, and they will want 5G versions of this phone. And at which point, you will have a Galaxy Note 10 5G that will probably be better than the S10 5G in most ways. It'll probably have had some benefit of research and time and understanding.
Well, what,
It's
like
still gonna, at that point, it would,
2 more months of development? Because
at that point, it's still going to be the 855 and the X50 modem, though. Like, the real improvements are not going to come until we get the next gen.
Yeah, but even so, when you're this early in any sort of technology, that those little tiny amounts make big differences. They've got a lot of room to fix.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the fixes will be like on the software side, just sort of the way the phone understands like switching between 4G and 5G.
I think the other thing that's important is also the network maturity. You probably update firmware and software on the 5G nodes, and then of course they will expand more, and there'll be more availability, and I think that will also be a very important part of the puzzle.
It does also help that we're talking about notes here, which it's not that they're that much bigger, but they are still bigger. So that little bit of extra space is going to ensure hands cover us and they have more room for antennas. So little tiny advantages, but it does add up.
Yeah. And so Sean says this will be like the early Galaxy days when every carrier had their own Galaxy phone. And I think this might actually be true with the Note. I think the Note's going to be the one where the carriers are all going to kind of end up picking and choosing and parting out exactly, what kind of, like, so LTE. Let's talk about 5G frequency availability, because that will affect these phones. So AT&T's 5G is not the same as Verizon's 5G, is not the same as Sprint's 5G, is not the same as T-Mobile's 5G, which is, well, LTE all over again.
They're all launching on millimeter wave exclusively, except for Sprint, which has the 2.5 gigahertz sub-6 spectrum. So T-Mobile is the only carrier that has talked about their plans to add sub-6 to their millimeter wave stuff. They've been very, very open about that. Verizon and AT&T basically have nothing to say about sub-6. They're like, millimeter wave is all we're talking about, and we think it's going to be great.
Yeah, which is so weird because they have to have a sub-6 5G network.
Definitely. Like, it's definitely going to happen. And as soon as they're ready to talk about it, that's going to be the new best thing ever. They're going to be like, we fixed 5G.
So I think the thing too, like, again, I'm going to reference the site Light Reading. They talked about like how Verizon's 5G millimeter wave rollout is going in San Francisco in terms of how many cell sites they've had to deploy to cover the amount of population they have. It's an insane number of cell sites. Like, the scale of it. Sacramento is a city. Yes, the big city in a sense. It's not that big. The state capital of California, but it's not as big as you would think. And so it's much more representative of like a big Midwestern city where the population's pretty spread out in a pretty flat area. And the amount of like cell sites they've had to deploy to achieve the coverage they have, which is tiny, by the way, it covers like single-digit percentage of the Sacramento population, is crazy. And so the cost of rolling out millimeter wave is insane.
You basically need a 5G node every couple of hundred feet. At street level, you can't even put them like on top of buildings, because if the building is more than like a few stories tall, you're limiting how far at street level people can access it.
Yeah, and so these carriers are going to get to this point where like, well, population density doesn't end up working out in their favor mathematically, And at that point, sub 6 makes a hell of a lot more. It will be just how it has to be.
I mean, I read a thing a week or two ago that said one of the big reasons that carriers are going so hard on millimeter wave in the US is because a big chunk of the usable sub 6 frequencies in the US are limited to military applications. So that's why they all started developing on millimeter wave. But in other countries, they're using lower frequencies that we don't have access to here.
That's true, because the carriers are not going to start doing refarm of 4G spectrum at this point, because
they're going to need. I mean, they're going to need 4G like indefinitely. Like, you're not going to. It doesn't even make sense to do like a phone call over 5G. You don't need a 5G signal for phone calls.
Yeah. So I think there are definitely some unique challenges for sub 6. We do have some things being freed up. I know they're going to free up some like the TV bands in the the VHF frequencies and stuff, and those are sub 6. And then you've got like the CBRS band, which Google and some other players are really involved in. Eventually be 5G too, but it's definitely a more complicated situation here. But T-Mobile is the only one, because they have that huge. They want a bunch of 600 megahertz, and they're like, that's going to be 5G.
Yeah, but that's something that is not supported on the X50 modem. They're going to have to wait for the X55.
No, it is not. Yeah, I mean, what, FDD instead of TDD? I forget. It's one of the two.
I think that was the plan.
Yeah,
millimeter wave right now. It's in the US at least. I think it's all TDD, right?
Yeah. And so, and also, like, basically the X50 only supports sub 6 gigahertz on TDD. I think that's what it is. It's either TDD or FDD. There's only two.
I think I think it's the modem is basically just TDD for everything.
Yeah. See what happens there. I just think, honestly, 2019 is going to be such a non-year for 5G. Once it all said and done.
This is the year of the 5G hype, where carriers are going to try and beat you over the head with their marketing and tell you how great it is. But everybody who uses it is going to be like, oh, this is actually kind of shitty.
Well, it's kind of like when 4K TVs came out. It's the same sort of thing. There's a ton of talk about it, and you don't really see the benefits of it until 2-3 years later, when everything actually saturates and there's services providing it.
And how many people are like, I'm so glad I was an early adopter.
or LT for that matter. Like, nobody who bought a Thunderbolt was happy about that.
Honestly, 4K is an even more extreme. I would still be like, 4K TV today, I guess it makes sense, just because that's the market availability, because that's what they all are now. But from a content availability standpoint, I'd be like, okay, I guess it could matter sometimes.
Well, if you bought a 4K TV when they started coming out, like, you could still use it. Like, you couldn't use a Thunderbolt now. I mean, you couldn't use it 6 months after it came out.
You could use it as a hotspot, as long as it's plugged into a permanent power source.
You can use it as a hand warmer,
and you've got a fan blowing across it at least.
A little portable fire extinguisher nearby at all times.
Yeah.
Good
times.
So,
I know we're probably all boring you to death with 5G, but it's just a talk of the industry, right? Talking about 5G. But let's talk about something that seems a little more confusing potentially, but at the same time makes sense, is developing some wireless earbuds with Alexa in them. And who wants this?
Gross.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
It's like everything else Amazon in it. It doesn't necessarily mean anyone wants it. It's just Amazon thinks they do.
Wait, you didn't want the microwave with Alexa? What's wrong with you?
What? I've got like 6 of them. How else do I talk to Alexa?
How cook popcorn other than asking Alexa to cook it after you put it in right in front of you?
I wonder if they're going to try to go like the Kindle route with these and make them just super, super cheap, so that people will just buy them on Amazon.
Undercut AirPods. That would be very easy to do, because AirPods are very expensive.
Yeah. I mean, look, you can already buy like advantages. I mean, you can buy like mediocre true wireless earbuds on Amazon for whatever, like $60 or $70 now, and they'll be bad, but like they're $60 or $70. And if Amazon with its scale can make something like that that's $49 and has Alexa built in, and it, like, even if they're mediocre as audio devices, I think they would sell like hotcakes.
I think $49, you're right. That is the magic money price point for true wireless earbuds, because right now
they would sell a buttload of these at $49.
All the true wireless buds under $100 are not very good. Some of them are like very just passable.
It is very, very, very rare. I think I forget how much they were. Like those sound cores that I reviewed a month or two ago. I think they were $100, and they were actually surprisingly good. But like that was the exception, really.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the entry level, because I've tried both the Zolos, and I think both, frankly, very uncomfortable. Battery life's good, but the sound sucks. And I still use the Jopper 65T pretty much every day, and those even are like, well, you're paying $170 for them, because all true wireless earbuds do. I mean, even AirPods have issues. So
yeah, I mean, Apple has a custom Bluetooth stack to make AirPods less terrible, but everybody else is kind of hacking this together with Bluetooth. And Bluetooth was never really designed for this.
Yeah, so I think I think $50 would be the price people are willing to deal with mediocre audio, as long as the connectivity experience and the battery life experience are pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all we really know.
Yeah, watch out for those this holiday season, I bet.
Yeah, those could be a hot item. If only Google had a set of true wireless earbuds to compete with these Amazon earbuds. If only.
I would love it if Google just made a straight up AirPod clone, but with Google Assistant.
Yeah, I would buy that.
Same shape and everything, because it seems like every other Bluetooth earbud is the in-ear. I can't stand those.
Really?
They're the worst. I don't really enjoy like shoving something in my ear canal every time I want to listen to something.
The sound isolation is better.
I don't care.
I don't know.
The AirPods still sound fine.
I like coming home and relaxing and shoving something in my ear every evening. I think it's just very therapeutic. But I do agree that Google should get into that. I mean, the Pixel Buds they don't go into your ears. The Pixel Buds rest in your outer ear. So I think they'd probably stick with that design. And from a fitment standpoint, because in-ear earbuds, there's more of a chance that your ears won't be shaped the right shape for them to seal. So I'm hoping this year will be the year of the true Pixel Buds, and I'm hoping this year will be the year of Pixel Face ID. And also the Pixel camera not like devolving into janky awfulness after 3 months. That would be good too.
Just please keep the actual fingerprint sensor, please. No in-screen fingerprint sensor.
No in-screen fingerprint sensor. I agree with that. And keep the.
I'd rather have an in-screen fingerprint sensor than no fingerprint sensor. Just saying.
Ooh,
controversial position. I think there's no going back.
Really? Is it?
Let's just not rely on a camera to unlock.
I feel like there's something wrong with your fingers, David. I mean, I haven't had the same kind of problems with in-screen fingerprint sensors you have.
I honestly know my S10 Plus is the nightmare to use every day of my life. It is just that terrible. And honestly, I've talked to enough people who agree. So,
I mean, it's not great. It's not as good as the 60, but I think the 60 is fine.
I think the 60 is fine too. That said, I wonder if OnePlus like hand selected for fingerprint performance on review units or something. Like I don't know how they would do that, but mine was fine too.
I've used a few and they've all been equally okay.
Interesting.
Mine's fine, but the actual fingerprint sensor on my 5T is immensely faster.
Oh yeah, definitely. They're way faster.
Yeah, capacitive sensors on like the backs of phones are real good. I would be perfectly happy if that was the way we made phones for the foreseeable future, but the inevitable march of progress.
Yeah, the S10e's fingerprint scanner is pretty damn good.
So I had my wife use the S10e for a while because she scans, and she said that she hates the fingerprint sensor on that phone.
I think that's a matter of like being used to it or not used to it.
No, she used it for a couple days. She's also left-handed, so I don't know.
It took me a while. I'm left-handed too. It took me a week to get used to it. And after I got used to it, it was fine.
She gave me the phone back like quicker than I expected. I was surprised. She's like, give me my Pixel back. Okay.
You do have to get used to it. It takes a little bit of adapting. But once I did, I really enjoyed it and had no problems with it really. But with that, I guess that is all we have to talk about this week. Unless somebody has anything else they want to bring up before the show's over. But I can't think of anything, honestly.
Nope.
Yeah, no, it's not been that special of a week.
Well, Thank you for listening, everybody, to the Android Police Podcast. Catch you next time.
Good night, everybody.